Good evening, everyone. This is astronumerologist Lloyd Strayhorn, where you are on live with Lloyd, where the joy of numerology is the joy of learning and enlightenment. As you see, in just a moment, I'm going to have my very distinguished guest and a very long-time friend in every sense of the word, Mr. Jeffrey Benson Noble, and he's going to be talking. The brother is so diversified, but anyway, I'll let him display all of that. But in the meantime, let me do this. Okay, let me do this. Okay, and here I am. Hi, everybody. How y'all doing? It is Wednesday. Nope. Excuse me. It is Monday the 28th, the very last day of February. All righty. So anyway, I always do the forecast for you, and as you see, I like to put it on the screen now so you can visually see it, so you can go through it with me. As you see, it is uh, like, share, and subscribe. I got to put that down. So please do. And if you're genuine about liking it and genuine about sharing, and if you'd like to kind of follow, because I always try to have interesting guests, metaphysical guests too, but other guests, because we are so diversified in our life's experience that, I give a cross section. But today is Monday, the very last day of February. The sun is in Pisces. The moon is in Aquarius. It's an 8 universal day, with 8 universal month, which means tomorrow it will be a 9 universal month. It's a 3 universal week, but tomorrow will be a 1 universal week. And then because it is a 9 universal day, tomorrow will be a 1 universal day. Anyway, those who are under the signs of Pisces, Sagittarians, Leos, Aquarians, and Aries, this is your day. And for those that are born on the 1st, the 9th, the 10th, the 18th, the 19th, the 27th, and 28th of the month, this is your day too. This is how you rolling. All righty. So let me get that out the way. And I'm going to be bringing on my guest. His name is Jeffrey Benson Noble. We've been knowing each other. We've been knowing each other a minute, haven't we, Jeff?
About 5 minutes.
We have traveled together from Texas and did lectures and workshops, and so this in every respect is a very dear friend. You got to thank Brandon Smith, because he said, "Why don't I have Jeff on?" I said, "Jeff who?" Okay, anyway, Jeff, listen, you're so well rounded. One of the things, if I'm not mistaken, not only were you in the martial arts, but you also introduced the first fireworks in Harlem. Is that correct, or am I correct?
1994.
The first fire. What brought about the firework?
What about the firewalk?
The firework, rather.
Okay. Well, I think I know what brought about the firewalk. I did a firewalk with Tony Robbins. A lot of people know Anthony Robbins. I did one with him on 34th Street, facing the Empire State Building. But Alatunde was playing the drums.
Yeah, Baba Alatunde. Yeah.
So I said, wait a minute. This guy has Alatunde playing the drums. It has to have African roots somewhere. So I went back and did some research and found out the Kong people of the Kalahari Desert were doing firewalks when the community needed healing.
Interesting.
So I said, okay. So I decided to do a firewalk with no experience on anything else. And since then, I've done a number of firewalks. Thousands of people have walked across hot coals. I did it at a church in Brooklyn also, which thousands of Christians walked across the hot coals barefooted. We had people as young as 8 years old actually walk, and pregnant women. They actually did a firewalk.
Really?
But that's what brought it on. The fact that I saw Tony do it, I'm like, well, if he's doing this stuff, it came from Africa, so I got to represent. And that's how I started doing it.
Well, that's where most of the source comes in. One of the things we're going to talk about, because you're so well-rounded, we're going to talk about the importance of mental health. People have been under tremendous stress since the spring of 2020 in March, when they shut down the country. Some people did well with shut-in. Some people definitely didn't well. It also found out where people were actually at with it as far as relationships are concerned, which I think is interesting. That okay, I'm out. I don't see you until 5 or 6 or 7, but now I got to look at you every morning as soon as I get up. So that brought a lot of things. Let me see what actually, and you were also in NLP, which is Can you say that for me?
Neuro-linguistic programming.
Programming. Thank you very much. Okay. What got you into that?
Tony Robbins, once again. I had seen I did the firewalk,
Mm-hmm.
and then during that time, it was a whole weekend. Firewalk was just one aspect of the entire weekend, and
Mm-hmm.
so the other aspects of the weekend was learning different tools from neurolinguistic programming. And so I first was introduced to it by him. But before meeting him, I was introduced to the book Unlimited Power by a guy named Jim Shabasky at the Success Motivation Institute. He
Mm-hmm.
told me to read the book and read the first 5 chapters, and the rest was, bull. It was pop psychology. And so I started reading at chapter 5 because he said, don't, from 5 on to pop psychology. So you tell me that, I'm going to start there. And then there was a
That's the
technique.
genius in you, Jeff. That's all that is, buddy.
And then there was a technique in there they call it switch pattern.
Really?
It's supposed to help you stop biting your nails. So I'm like, well, I had already done all the positive affirmations, the creative visualization stuff. I had already done all that. I was a student of self-help way a long time ago. So I read the Think and Grow Rich. All those books I read, I have a whole library of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
What was missing was, okay, where is the meat of it? It's something is still missing. I knew something was missing. And neurolinguistic program for me was the missing piece. So I did the switch pattern and I stopped biting my nails immediately.
What is a switch pattern? If you don't, can you explain it?
It gives your brain a new direction. It's like you say, I'm trying to explain without doing a technique. It's like, see this? This is how I bite my nails.
Mm-hmm.
And then you swoosh another picture really fast into that to replace that one. So your mind goes back to get the picture you get ready to bite your nails. Other picture pops up and you don't bite your nails.
Ah, okay.
So that's the way. So it's called a swoosh pattern. It's like swoosh. You do it real fast. So as soon as that picture comes up in your mind to bite your nails and smoke a cigarette, whatever, the new picture comes up the way you want to be instead. And for 6 months, I stopped biting my nails. Didn't even realize until about the second or third month where I saw myself growing nails. And then about 6 months later, it went away. I stopped biting my nails again. So I did it again. And now it's been about, 20 years, 20 some odd years. I haven't bit my nails since then.
So you just automatically now get into a switch pattern mode?
No, not for everything. It's the technique you can use in certain situations. It's not for everything that happens in a person as far as mental health is concerned. It's not something used for every single thing. There's certain things, certain type of ailments you may use a switch pattern for, like smoking, drinking, anything that you feel like you have a compulsion to do almost, you can use the switch pattern.
Mm-hmm. Compulsion is one thing, but what about addictions? Or is that one in the same, except
addiction has to be handled a number of different ways. Number one, we have to realize what causes addiction. And I had 2 brothers that were addicted. So the main thing that causes addiction for most people is that they don't feel they have the resources to deal with the stress they're under at the time. So for most people, addiction becomes an escape from the reality that they're facing because they don't feel they can handle it. So they escape from it by doing something, doing a drug, whatever it may be. They'll drink, they'll do drugs, whatever the addiction may be. They'll do that to avoid having to deal with whatever it is that's in front of them right then and there. Of course, once they come back from the high, the stuff is still there again. So they need another high to get away from the stuff that's still there. So a lot of different parts of addiction it's more complicated than just doing one thing because there's a part of them that wants to stop. There's a part of them that want to keep going. So those 2 parts are in conflict. Those 2 parts themselves, it's like one's on one shoulder, one's on the other shoulder.
Yeah.
They're in conflict.
Mm-hmm.
So when they're in conflict, you have to get them to agree to come together and work to be whole again because they're not whole anymore. They're not healed because they're separate.
But now, does this explain where back in the day we was in the crack and all this stuff where people would go through their rehabilitation, but they come right back into the same neighborhood, the same environment, the same people, and then they expect to be cool. It's very hard, right?
Well, yeah, that's because they don't really change the mental environment. They may get the drugs out of their system, but they don't get the drug. They may get the habit out of their system, but they don't get it out of their soul. So it's still there. So it's like self-sabotage once again. You come out and you go back to the same thing because that's what you know. Now, unless you build a strong internal environment, what they call a mindset nowadays, it's very difficult to go in the same situation, the same environment, and not do the things you used to do. It's very hard for most people. You have to have a lot of willpower to not and have a big enough why. When you have a big enough why you want to do something, that can supersede everything. But that why has to be attached to an emotion, a positive emotion.
Now, compulsion then,
What about compulsion?
because you said I asked you addiction was different than a compulsion,
Well,
or is it?
compulsion. Well, people are compelled to do their addiction, whatever it is. So it's kind of kind of close, like cousins. With
Uh-huh.
a compulsion, you still do the same. You do a number of different things with a compulsion. Also, you do the aspects that want to stop and the aspect that does want to stop. I mean, doesn't want to stop. It does want to stop. You got to kind of get those two to agree in a middle ground. Like it's like you compromise in life. You may have a girlfriend or a guy friend or a spouse or something, or just a partner, and
Mm-hmm.
they may want to go to the movie. You may want to stay home, and then you may compromise to the point where okay, we'll stay home today and we go to the movie next week. There's a
Mm-hmm.
compromise. But with those two parts, you have to make sure those two parts agree on some new behavior that's going to benefit both of them.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, you go back to the old behavior again. With weight loss and everything else is what happens. I mean, I've worked with people who had fibroids. The same thing happened. They got operations 2 or 3 times. Fibroids kept growing back. And,
Really?
and then once we find the cause of the fibroid, see, what the medical field normally treats are the symptoms. The
Mm-hmm.
key is to find the cause.
Mm-hmm.
And the cause is attached to a belief. It's something you believe about yourself that drives any emotion someone has, any behavior someone has. There's a belief attached to it that's driving that behavior or that emotion.
For example, in your experience of working with women with fibroids, was there a common connection about either their belief system or pattern, which is, I didn't know it reoccurred. I thought once it was taken out, that was it.
Nope, they can reoccur definitely. I've worked with it a couple of times, and it can reoccur. And it's not a normal pattern. It's the emotion. See, a fibroid is like you take a piece of sand, right? If I put
Mm-hmm.
it on a table in front of you, you probably wouldn't see 1 grain of sand.
Mm-hmm.
If I continue putting more and more on top of that 1 grain, it creates a sand hill, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, so that's like congested energy. The energy is no longer flowing through there. With a fibroid, with almost any illness that anyone has, it's because the energy is not flowing through their body the way it was meant to flow through their body. There's been a blockage or disturbance in the energy flow in their body, and that's what causes all major illnesses, all illnesses, period. It's caused by a distortion or a blockage in the energy flow in your body, what they call chi. When the chi stops flowing or slows down, it creates an environment for illness to come in.
So part of what you do, because I know you have an organization and you train people in the process of healing. Am I correct with this?
Yes, you are.
Yeah, that's very, so most people that have maybe illnesses and discomforts, what you're saying is it has some psychological, emotional origin. Is that what you're saying, Jeff?
2 things I'm saying. Number one, yes, almost every major illness has a psychological component to it. And if you can get to the psychological component of it, it slows down and it normally stops the decay process.
Mm-hmm.
It will
Mm-hmm.
create the environment for the body to heal itself because the body really heals itself.
Mm-hmm.
What
If you
healers
leave
are
it
doing,
alone.
pardon me?
I says if you leave it alone.
Right. Well, sometimes you got to create the environment for it to heal because if it's
Mm-hmm.
already contaminated, it may not heal. But if you do things like, remove the blockages so the energy can flow through the body again, then all of a sudden the body will start healing again. Now, if you remove, and that may be enough sometimes, but a lot of times you have to find the emotional cause of it. And once you find that, healing happens like this. I worked with a woman that had 4th-stage pancreatic cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the worst cancers you can get. That's
Yeah,
almost a
that's the one
death.
that's with the highest mortality.
Right. And she's fine now. It's been 3 years since I worked with her. She's fine. But we
Really?
found the mental causes also. And usually it's between the age of birth and 9 years old. It's normally the cause. It's usually what somebody thinks is no big deal. But a lot of us have had all type of traumatic and emotional experiences in our lives. And we never healed them. We repress the emotions,
Mm-hmm.
especially most men. We're
Mm-hmm.
taught to be strong, to
Yep.
not cry, man up, come
Yep.
on,
Yep.
and all
Yep.
that stuff. So what we do is we anesthetize our feelings. So the feelings are not processed through our spiritual anatomy or our spiritual body, our energy body, our physical body. They're not processed through it at all. So then it becomes stuck somewhere. And then later on, you find out because cancer doesn't happen overnight. A common cold doesn't happen overnight.
Mm-hmm.
There's no illness. Liver disease doesn't happen overnight. Kidney failure doesn't happen overnight. It happens over a long period of time. So when all that time is getting worse and worse and worse and worse, unless you're doing something to reverse it or to halt the acceleration of the decay of that part of your body.
I would think that would make a difference if people just understood that whatever their present illnesses is, if they could kind of trace back to whatever trauma or event that traumatized them. But a lot of times I don't think people get that connection, do they?
No, and people usually who think they know what it was, it's not what they think it is. Because almost every time I work with someone, oh yeah, I know exactly what caused it. Not. Another thing that caused it also is being unforgiving.
What do you mean?
When you don't forgive people, when something happens to you, like say I did something to you and you don't forgive me, well, guess what? If it's not bothering me but still bothering you, you are the one being poisoned by it, not me.
That's interesting. So, in other words, just that stage alone of forgiveness
Oh, that's
does a lot.
powerful. Very powerful. Anyone who's doing any healing at all need to do forgiveness. Now, most people I run into, including someone I work with today, 2 people I work with today, they feel they've forgiven the person. But most of the time that we've forgiven people, we forgive them intellectually. We don't
I know what you mean. I know what you mean. But the heart ain't in it, right?
we forgive them intellectually, but not spiritually. So the energy is still stuck in our spiritual bodies.
That's interesting.
Energy is still stuck there. I'm telling you that for a fact. 9 people out of 10 always think they forgave the person, but did not forgive them. They forgave
Why
them
is that,
intellectually.
you think? Because of just the intellectual and not understanding their other components in the forgiveness process?
I think it's that. I also think that people feel that if I forgive you, Lord, something you did to me, it's like I'm letting you off the hook.
Makes sense. Makes sense. And why should you be let off the hook, Jeffrey?
Right.
Noble?
Because you did this to me. So why should I let you off the hook? I should be beating you behind for what you did to me. So I think that it's gone. I've anesthetized it. But then when I see you, it triggers those emotions again.
Does that explain some of the relationships in relationship that men have with women and vice versa, and all of those things, and child support and family court
It ties into all relationships. All relationships it ties into. Most people forgive intellectually and they just anesthetize it or they numb it or they bury it. And then it's up as what create the environment. They have cancer, they have lung disease, they have diabetes, they have high blood pressure. It's just it creates an environment where disease start to come in and fester.
Well, how can people really learn how to forgive other than intellectually?
That's a
I
hard
think I've
question.
been guilty of that myself. Seriously. I thought I forgave and everything is cool. Then that episode would come and I said, man, I remember what you did to me. Okay.
But it's okay to remember. It's okay to remember. The
But
key is
to
not
forgive.
holding on to the emotion.
Oh, okay. Got you.
That's
Got
the
you.
key. See,
Mm-hmm.
people think that you have to forgive and forget. You don't have to forget.
No, I
It's
don't
the
forget.
emotion that's going to cause the disease. It's the emotion that's going to cause the blockage that's going to later on create the environment for you to be exposed to getting the type of disease. So you don't have to forget. Just that when you see them, you don't want to have any emotion attached to it. Or if
Yeah.
this is something smart, you don't want to have any emotion attached to it. Like, that's just Lloyd. That's the key. The whole key is to get rid of the emotions. People are in their head a lot, but they got to get into their body and realize what's going on. Because if someone told me a story about forgiveness, someone said they didn't want to forgive someone for a certain reason, right? That's just a story. That's the narrative of what happened from their point of view. From their point of view. And we all see things differently because, if you see a car accident, 7 people that see the same car accident, there'll be 7 different descriptions of what happened.
Yeah, exactly.
So with any emotion or any experience you have with another person that's emotionally taxing to you, you have to realize that is when they tell me about they need to forgive someone, it's from how they felt about their perception of it. But that's just a label. We call it forgiveness. It's just a label with a narrative. So what's the narrative that goes along with that feeling that we are calling forgiveness? If you think about it, how do we even know to call it forgiveness? How did we know that emotion should be labeled forgiveness? When you're a child, you don't know to call it forgiveness. You had to learn to put that label on some emotion somewhere in the past. Call it forgiveness. So if you pull back the label with the story on it, all you got is pure emotion. Now you can change quick. Now you can do rapid transformation. Just get the label out the way and deal with the emotion. You can change a lot faster. What some people have done, or I have testimonies from people who've been in therapy for 7 years, and they worked with me 3 times and got a better result than they got in 7 years of therapy, going regularly.
No, I know you're a genius, Jeff. Seriously, I've been with you, brother. We've been hanging for decades, so I know you. It's very, very interesting how you do that, and I'm always fascinated by it. But then let's go now. Does emotion have a lot to do with the mental health? Because we want to put a little emphasis on mental health too, because a lot of people are stressed mentally. Is that a part of it, you think? Or what is the cause of all the mental stress, other than the stress of the nation and the stress of the world and the stress of keeping a job or raising a family? What has been your experience with the mental health situation?
Well, like everything else, everything's a matter of perspective. If you look at the pandemic and what it's caused for people as something that really disrupts your world, and you're living with your mate and you're looking at each other every day now, and you're getting tired of seeing each other and those type of things, that's one way to look at it. If you look at the pandemic, it's an opportunity for you to spend more time with your mate, get to know them on deeper levels, get to experiment more doing certain types of things that are pleasurable for both of you, to just become more adventurous, and to take this time to get to know yourself better by studying, by reading, all those things. It's a different perspective altogether. See, most people look at the negatives of it. They don't look at the positives of it. And so they focus on the negative, and so they become more stressed. If you're thinking about the fact that you're going to go home, or you're going to go to the store, go home, and you and your mate have a wonderful night tonight, and you're going to do things you haven't done because you're both running this way.
Yeah.
Different experience to come home saying, I got to look at her. I'm tired of seeing him, tired of seeing her. It's a different experience. If you look at this as an opportunity to grow, to do some things, to start your own business, this is exciting for you. So it's all a matter of perspective, how you're looking at things. I mean, I work with people that have chronic pain sometimes, and I work with them for about an hour, and I say, how's your pain? I still feel it. Granted, they were at a 10 in intensity. Now they're at a 4. But they're focused on the fact I still feel pain. So I have to remind people that my name is Jeffrey, Jeffrey, not Jesus, Jesus.
Yeah,
so
different J. Good, definitely.
And they want, sometimes they expect you to do miracles because they've been in the under the medical care for 14 years. And if you don't do it in one session, they get upset. But they've been spending money 14 years on medicine, going back and forth with the doctor and everything else. So some people have unrealistic expectations when it comes to alternative health practitioners or complementary health practitioners. They have unrealistic expectations. They can go to the doctor for 14 years, take 16 pills a day, and still not getting any better, and got side effects on each pill they're taking. But then they'll come to someone like myself or someone from the Noble Touch, and they want to be, boom, one time and you're done.
I think that's very interesting that they would be under medical care all that time, and yet they want you to walk on water for them.
Yes. But this mental health crisis was here before the pandemic. The pandemic just amplified it. And the mental health crisis is because people are just not, our people are not going to psychologists in most of the cases. We look at therapy as being weak or something's wrong with us. Now, you pile that on top of the fact that every image in the media, everything we hear on the radio is something wrong with us. Whether we're on drugs, whether we're in jail, whether we're robbing stores, whether we get shot, it's something wrong with us.
Something, yep.
So then we grow up this belief that something's wrong with me, or I'm not good enough, or I don't deserve it, I'm not worthy of it. And those things continue to rile up inside you, and it's causing mental health. It causes you to start doubting yourself, doubting the world. What am I doing here? I can't get anything I want. The world's against me. I've had people tell me the world's. I've had people come to me, Lloyd, with what do you call them? I forgot what you call them now. But the letters telling me they're depressed, and if I can't help them, they're gonna kill themselves. People come into me and show me the letter when they was leaving. I feel so much better now. If you couldn't help me, I was gonna kill myself. I tried everything else.
Well, just about 3 or 4 weeks ago, there was this TV personality. She was a Miss America or something like that. and she would talk about mental health, but yet she jumped from the 29th floor in downtown Manhattan. Okay, so what does that, you think? That's where
People
you
don't
get
see a
the
way out.
person, huh?
They don't see a way out. They don't see a way out. They don't see their life getting any better. They don't see things changing for them. And so they take what is called the easy way out. And they
But
check
what
out for that.
happens when a person?
Look at Robert Williams. I mean, the guy was a genius comedian.
Yeah, yeah.
So people laugh, they have this face like everything's okay. But a lot of times inside, we're dealing with the dark night of the soul. We just think that everything's against us, everybody's against us, and we can't see a way out. Normally, when people take those drastic type measures, they don't see a way out. Just don't want to be here anymore. They don't see a way out. They feel like
Despite the
belonging.
success or the appearance of success and all the things associated with it.
You never know what's going on inside a person. Everybody's wearing a mask. We all wear masks.
Pardon the pun. Okay.
Pardon me?
I says pardon the pun on that one, wearing a mask.
Yeah, people don't show who they really are usually. That's why I've been talking about audacious authenticity.
What does that mean, buddy?
Audacious authenticity just means being your damn self. That's what that means. You guys,
warts and all, right?
Pardon me?
Warts and all.
Everything.
Yeah.
Just being yourself. And most of us are not ourselves in most cases because we're trying to fit in, or we want to be like someone else. We want to be accepted. We want to be liked. We want to be loved. And no matter what you do, everybody's not going to like you. I don't care what you do, everybody's not going to like you. They may pretend they like you. Some people.
Yep.
But they don't like you. So my whole thing now, just be yourself. Find out who you are and live in that reality of who you are. If you want to say no, say no. Some people have a hard time saying no. They're always saying yes, yes, yes to people. And they know they don't want to do it, but they'll say yes and do it anyway. Just say no.
Have you discovered in your experience why that is for those types of people that want to say no, but yet go against everything in their spirit and still say yes when they should have said no?
Well, sometimes it's about pleasing them. And sometimes it's about pleasing the person because they tried to please their parents when they were young. So they have this attitude because when we were young, our parents are God. Our survival depends on our parents. You know, we look at them for everything. And you grow up trying to please your parents all the time. Now, if you had the kind of parent that ignored you a lot, and you was trying to please them, so now you have this habit of pleasing to be accepted, to be loved, to be liked, to be part of. And so now you grow up with the same exact pattern. That's why I said at the beginning, most of this stuff starts from birth almost to 9 years old. By the time you're 9 years old, your personality is set for life unless you do something to change it. Because you've had so much conditioning about how you're supposed to be, what's right, what's wrong. Think about it. When kids are born, they're geniuses.
Yes, they are. If left alone, definitely.
They are geniuses. I mean, I always tell people we were born to win, but conditioned to lose. That we were born to win, but conditioned to lose. Because you think about, I'm gonna make this quick. This is really a long, drawn out thing. I'm going to make it quick though. When you're born, they lay you in the bassinet if you're lucky. If you're not, it's a crib. If you're not, it's just the bed next to your mother or father. And then sooner or later they turn you over. You learn to crawl. Do you know the mathematics that's involved to coordinate your muscles to move a certain way, make you move forward at that age? There's a lot of mathematics in that. I mean, how much do you have to move this arm? How much do you have to move this leg? How high do you have to lift it off the floor? How much fast do you have to do it? You know, it's a lot of coordination in there.
Yeah, I was going to say, and everything has to be in coordination to move.
Right. Otherwise, you're not going to scoot anywhere. You're not going to move anywhere. You just be like falling over and over again. And then after a while, you learn to stand up in the crib. Now, how did you know to do that? Who told you to do that? You just want to see the world differently once again, because at each of those stages, you're experiencing the world differently. When you're crawling, you see the world differently than when you're standing on a bassinet looking out. Then they take you off the bassinet and you start to walk. And all this time, your family's encouraging you to move forward, to do this. Yeah, look what the little baby did. Look what little Jeff did. Look what little Jeff did. They're clapping. Then you start to walk. I mean, you pull up on like the coffee table. You stand there, you're shaky, right? You can't stand still. You're shaky. And you fall, boom. Like, oh, come on, you can do it, you can do it. They don't say, you dumb idiot, get up and do it again. No, they encourage you. They encourage you. And once again, the marvelous mind we have, it does all the calculations. Okay, I fell this time, so I got to make this adjustment, that adjustment, and this adjustment. So next time I try to take a step, I can land without falling. And each time that the babies fall again, a recalculation goes on until finally they take that first step, that second step, without holding on.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody loses their mind. They call all their friends and tell everybody my baby's first steps. You know that?
Yeah, no, I know that real.
But who taught them to do that? That's the genius that's already in us. So we were born to win. And you have a couple of kids. I bet you any amount of money, when they fell down, you didn't call them names and say, get up, you lazy bum. Get your butt up and walk again.
No, not at all.
You encourage them. But
Not
now, this is where we were born to win. If you want to learn Spanish now, what would you have to do? If you want to learn Spanish now, you have to go take a course,
Yes, you do.
tapes, do all those things. If you were taught English and Spanish when you were a baby, you have both languages like this. Didn't read a book, didn't listen to a tape or nothing. That's the genius. That's what I mean by we were born to win.
There's some children like that that can speak now 5 or 6 languages.
Right. Didn't read a book. Didn't listen to a tape.
No Rosetta Stones, no whatever else they got out here to teach you a language.
Right. That's the way we were. That was we were born to win. As we get older, our parents start imposing their will, their beliefs, their fears, their doubts, and their worries on us. Now, you were falling, they weren't afraid. You was falling on your knees or falling on your back where you were falling. They weren't afraid. But now as you're getting a little older, you can walk. Now they're afraid of stuff. So now they begin to, because the bottom line is this, Lloyd. Who we are right now has nothing to do with who we really are. Who we are right now is based on all the conditioning we received over the years from our parents, from church, from your coaches, from teachers, from all those people has affected our life. I mean, you think about how do you know if you're in the woman, I'm saying, I don't know who your audience is. If you're in the woman, how do you know what kind of woman to like? Where'd that model come from? How do you know what kind of woman to become attracted to? You know, how do you know what kind of man to be attracted to? Period. How do you know? That person is probably a compilation of men in your life or women in your life that were meaningful in one way, shape, or another. Now, a lot of people don't see that at first when they first think about it. But I used to do a workshop called a spiritual guide to finding an ideal relationship. And in that workshop, I can tell you, there were lots of people that came back and said, you know what? They do remind me of my teacher and my father. Or they do remind me of the preacher that was around when I was really young and this other person I knew.
Something always coming back to childhood. Right.
How do you know what to pick? Everything is a comparison. I remember I think this way I got to, I'm not sure, but I think this way I got one thing from my life. I like hips, right? I think I got that from Pam Grier. But I don't know. Pam Grier had some hips back then. I've always liked small waist and hips. That's my thing. Different people like different parts of female.
Yeah, that's right.
I like hips. I like hips and waist, small waist and hips. And I think I got that from Pam Grier, but I'm not sure. That's the first one I can remember that I was like, wow.
I know I had a client where if you had beautiful teeth, you had her attention. She didn't care whether you was 5'2", but if you had beautiful teeth, you had her. So what brings that? And especially, I remember when we were coming up as kids, we'd say, well, what kind of guy you like? Well, they want him tall. They want him this, that, and the other. Almost always nowhere in lockstep with reality of who they wind up with, which I thought was interesting. And the men too.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people don't know what their values are in relationships and what their values are in life. And your values are which drives your life. Your values and your beliefs. Values meaning what's most important to you. When you go through life, to me, especially as adults now, we need to be checking every activity we're doing almost and say, does this lead me to my ultimate goal? Just playing Angry Bird for 4 hours lead me to my goal of entrepreneurship? Or could I have been doing something else in those 4 hours that my competitor may be doing? It's not watching Angry Birds. And so every day, we should check in and say, okay, how's this activity lead me towards my long-term goals?
And if you're playing video games all day, it's certainly not going to get you there. Not at the speed that you need to, I would take it, right?
It may get you there sooner or later, but not at the same speed. No. You got to take consistent small steps and sometimes large steps to get there. And having owned 3 businesses now, I can speak from experience.
Yeah, yeah. Question: what is the best thing to offset or how to balance out things that are stressing a person mentally to the point where mental health is a problem? I mean, every day now I'll see people talking to themselves in the street. Of course, we'll jokingly say, "Oh, they didn't take their medicine" or something like that. But it goes a little deeper than that, and it affects quite a few people adversely. Where you got people pushing people off a subway platform. You know what I'm saying? Mentally out of it. How can we begin to kind of like look at ways to begin to check our own selves, because all of us are under stress, and oftentimes when we think everybody else is crazy, we need to put the finger at ourselves too.
Well, I first have to make a statement, disclaimer. I am not a mental health professional in the
Right,
traditional sense.
yes, that's right.
I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a social worker. I don't claim to be an expert in this area. I do claim to get results for people who wants to transform their life. But I am not a traditional.
And I bear witness. I bear witness too.
I'm not a social
Yeah.
worker. I'll make that perfectly clear first of all. Now, what makes people do these things? I mean, what can they do? One of the most important things people can do nowadays is exercise. Exercise in the good, what you call them, endorphins or whatever through your body.
Yeah.
You feel better about yourself. I mean, I forgot what study was, something like 64% of people who just start jogging that were depressed came out of depression. They did it on a consistent basis. So exercise is one thing to do. Another thing to do is breathing. Breathing properly, learning how to breathe. There are a lot of people who have videos on YouTube and people that teach about breathing techniques. You use the breathing techniques to calm down your anxiety, your stress, everything else. I think that's important also, breathing. Also, your diet. What do you eat? What are you feeding yourself? Because those things are important also. You have to watch your diet and watch what you're feeding yourself. Are you a vegan? Or maybe you can't be a vegan. Maybe you need more protein. And there are vegan options for protein also, but it may be something you need to eat meat. I don't know. But I think diet affects it. I think there's 4 major things: diet, exercise, breathing, then your mentality, period. Whether you have a winner mentality or whether you have a victim mentality. If you have a victim mentality, it's very easy to fall into the end of what they call it mental health, where you just feel like everybody's against you. You have no way out. You feel hopeless.
Go over the edge.
Right. Hopeless. And then you do things to hurt other people, but because you're really hurting yourself. You have self-hatred. You discriminate, and you are demonstrating self-hatred by showing your hatred on someone else until you get enough guts to do it to yourself. That's just Jeff Noble. I don't know what
Jeff, I would say, as long as I've been knowing you, buddy, for decades and seeing what you've done, I would vouch for you any day. And you don't have to be a doctor, but I know what you have done. I've witnessed some of those. I've talked to some people, which is why you're on my show talking about these challenges that we have with our mental stability nowadays. So there could be other modalities, especially like you said earlier at the beginning, where we are afraid to go to a therapist because we've got the impression that something is wrong with us. And healing is the new black. Yes. I hope. Hold on. Lift that up again. I want everybody to see that. Healing is the new black. Yes. Yes, it is. And we be about healing. But we feel that if we go to a psychiatrist or a psychologist or a therapist, oh, something must be wrong with you.
Well, Lord, you have to remember that we're taught not to tell people our business. We are taught not to tell people our business. So now you go to a psychologist, someone you don't know. Now, first of all, you're not even telling your friends your business. You go to a stranger that you don't know, that more than likely is white, and you don't tell them your business. That's why therapy sometimes doesn't work as well for us. Because it takes you a year or two just to get comfortable with the person. And that's the beauty of neuro-linguistic programming. We don't need to know the detail. You can come to me and say, you can have major stress in your life. You can have a traumatic event. You could have been robbed on the street and you're scared to walk down the street now, so you have a phobia. You come to me and say, Jeff, I want to see you about something I want to get rid of. I had a traumatic experience. I want to get rid of it. But you don't really want to talk about it. And all I got to do is have you get in touch with the feelings. All I need is the feelings. If I get the feelings, we can resolve it in 1 or 2 visits. A lot of times, 1 visit. I don't usually see people more than 6 times for the same thing. Not if it's an emotion problem, unless they can't access the emotion. They may take us long because they may have anesthetized it so much, or put it so much, dug it so deep in their psyche, that's going to take longer for them to open it. And then we have the part that protects us, that won't let us open up, that won't let us come out, that won't let us shine. It's like it's this part of us that we all have. We were loaded and coded to be a co-creator with the creator. We all have a purpose to do something. In some kind of ways to be of service and educate people. But unfortunately, things happen to us in our past that doesn't give us the freedom to fully express ourselves, or the conditioning from the past doesn't give us the freedom to fully express ourselves and to share our gifts with the world. Everyone has gifts.
Yep.
Everyone's have something they can bring.
Yep, exactly.
And there are people out there waiting for every single one of us. Of course, to me, I feel that we are the answer. Everybody is the answer to someone's prayer. We are the answer. Everyone, not just me, not just you. Everyone's the answer to someone's prayer. And they've probably been the answer to someone's prayer already. They just haven't learned to form it into a process that they can actually use to earn a living. Most people, they work their job, but they don't really, they're not happy the way they work. I think the last study showed like 90% of people that work on a job are not happy. They feel they're stuck. They have to do it. How many doctors do you know and lawyers do you know who didn't really want to be a doctor and lawyer? They went to school because their parents told them to go to school to be a doctor and lawyer.
Yeah, that was their expectation, not the individual's expectations.
So now we go back to people pleasing again. I want to be accepted by my mother. I want to be accepted by my father. I want to be accepted by the community. If I'm a doctor, I'm accepted by the community. If then you become a doctor and you start a jazz band, or you become a doctor and you're a photographer on the side. You find different things to do because that's really your passion. Being a doctor was never your passion. It was your career. And your career and passion aren't necessarily two same things.
It's interesting when you talk about emotions and feelings, because sometimes you can, I have a thing that I will tell my women clients. They will be in a relationship, they broke up, the person is physically gone, but mentally and emotionally especially, they're still holding on to that person.
Well, I tell people this all the time, men and women. If the person effed up and did something wrong and hurt you really bad, they did it one time. After that, you're doing it to yourself. Because you run the same tape over and over and over. I wasn't good enough. What did I do wrong? I should have done this. I should have done that. And you start blaming yourself and beat up on yourself. You spiral yourself into depression.
And doesn't the groove get deeper and deeper every time you replay this?
Yep. And it's easy to say, but it's not easy to do. Because I would say open the door and say, next. And that's easy to say, but it's a lot harder to do when you're emotionally laden.
Well, this is what I found in my experience too, Jeff. I would tell a person or the client about this person, but emotionally, mentally, it makes sense. Emotionally, all the common sense goes right out the window. So that's why I've found in my experience of doing this, when a person is emotionally connected, it's very hard for common sense. Later on, they're trying to, and yet they knew darn well, mentally, logically, they shouldn't be in this. But emotionally, whatever that hook is this is why a song can bring back a memory of an event, of a woman or an experience and stuff like that. Just a song is just amazing what songs can do like that.
It's called the anchor. It's like the Pavlov dog experiment. You ring the bell, the dog shall lie. Ring the bell, the dog shall lie. You ring the bell, the dog shall lie. And after a while, you ring the bell, the dog knows time to come eat. So we all have those type of anchors. The question is whether the anchors we have, the things that we're attached to, whether it's through music, through smells, whatever it may be, through someone's voice, is whether or not those anchors, those things are serving us. Suppose you're at an anchor, you say you think of a color like rose. And every time you looked at rose, you felt loving. Suppose you put rose all around your house. So you go in the bathroom and you look at the rose in the mirror, you're looking at yourself, you feel love for yourself. What about if you had a way to, when you're not creative, but you can tap into creativity one time, get it real strong, anchor it to something. It could be a color, it can be a touch of the finger. Every time you touch that finger again, that creativity comes back in your body again. So these are called anchors. They are set naturally. We all have anchors. A person that does something wrong to you may be an anchor, a negative anchor. You see them again, you get pissed off. Same thing.
Right, 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 right,
I mean,
right.
this is an anchor, right?
Yeah, certainly so.
Right.
Certainly so. Certainly so. Certainly so. So, but Jeff, I mean, it seems so simple when you really get to the bottom of it, and it sounds like it's really not that complex if a person really understands the root of their situations and how to move forward with it, especially understanding the reinforcement of anchors, especially that are negative and whatnot, and then how to kind of break these anchors or whatever the case is, which is why people come to you.
Yes. Well, there are so many, and that's why I'm not a, I believe in it, but I'm not a big fan of it, and that's talking therapy.
Talking therapy?
Yeah.
What
I
is
think
that?
if you went to see a psychologist or a social worker and you saw them 4 times, you haven't got any results, I say run. I say find another alternative practitioner. I invite you to a Noble Touch, of course, to
Hmm.
find somebody you get a result, because almost every healer in a Noble Touch will get a result within 2 or 3 sessions at the most. You'll feel something, even if not permanent. You'll feel a shift happen normally in the first or second session.
Well, I'm telling you, because one time I went to you for, I forgot when it was back in the day, but I consulted you myself.
Right?
It's just amazing these techniques you need to develop that can be such a help in our communities. And
People don't
it's,
realize their power. That's why.
huh?
People don't realize how powerful they really are. I don't give anything to anybody they don't already have. I just show them how to use what they got to get them unstuck and move forward in their life. I'm not
Hmm.
giving them anything they already have. I'm not bringing any tools, a hammer, a nail, nothing. I'm saying, Lord, you already have this in you. Let me show you how to use it to alleviate your problem or to accelerate your healing. And that's all it is.
To me, that would make such a big, big difference moving forward in your life.
Well, you got to think about it. To me, when people come to see me, like people, especially people of color, scared of this thing called hypnosis, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yet they're walking around hypnotic trances all the time. See, the way I look at it is that everything is hypnotic in nature. Most things are hypnotic in nature. Now,
Mhm.
when people come to me, my job is not to try to hypnotize someone. My job is to dehypnotize them.
Right, because we've been programmed.
You
And that's
already, you
another way of
already.
saying that it's hypnotized because
If
we've
you
been
weren't
programmed.
hypnotized, you'll be able to break the habit yourself. You'll be able to stop the drinking yourself.
Hmm.
You'll be able to stop dating the wrong person yourself. You're in a hypnotic trance about the whole thing. So you come to therapy to get the trance broken. Unfortunately, some therapists reinforce the trance by having you talking about it over and over and over and over again.
Which doesn't help clear up the situation, I take it, right, Jeff?
For me, it doesn't, but I'm not an expert in that field. I just know that I've worked with people who've been to psychologists. The longest one I was 18 years that she had been going to get therapy. And I
Hmm.
think I finished her in about 9 sessions after
Hmm.
18 years. Because
Hmm.
once again, I'm not looking for the explanation of it. I'm looking for the structure of it. Let me explain what I mean. If you go
Hmm.
to a normal psychologist and you say, some normal psychologist, and you say, I'm depressed,
Hmm.
what do you think they're going to say? About what? Tell me about your family. How long have you been depressed?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say, well, first of all, congratulations. I may ask you how long you've been depressed. And you may say, 4 years. And I'll say, congratulations. And then we, congratulations. How you?
Yeah, yeah, no, no, but Jeff, you always been a weird person, but you got your style.
Listen, they mastered something. Some people go their whole life and don't master anything. They mastered depression. There's a part of them that knows how to be depressed. Now, what happens if you can turn that part around to do something different?
Hmm.
It
Hmm.
already knows how to maintain, how to sustain a feeling. What about if you can turn that part around to sustain a good feeling instead? Then I want to know, how do you do depression? What kind of pictures are you making inside your head? What type of things are you saying to yourself over and over again that's causing you to feel depressed?
Hmm.
How
Hmm.
do you know it's depression anyway? Who told you that was depression? The doctor? That's what I'm
Hmm.
saying. We put these labels on these emotions. Once we remove the labels and deal with the emotions, we can accelerate people's healing.
Well, that's what the Noble Touch does. I tell you. How long have you had the Noble Touch? And how many members are there? It's grown, man. It's
The
grown.
Noble Touch is this present form. It's over 200 of us.
And all practicing the art of healing.
Yes. We have everything you can think of. We have, from massage therapists to nutritionists. Everything we need, we have right in our group. God has blessed us so mightily that everything we need is in our group. So it's about 200 of us. What's the other question? Over 200 of us.
Yeah, over 200.
98% people of color.
Pardon me? 98% what?
People of color.
I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it. We have been the most traumatized of anybody, of any ethnicity in this country, and for all the reasons that justifies our trauma too. But there's never been a thing, because I'd always says, for us to be Black people supposed to be a minority in this country, why, when it comes to the social ills, obesity, diabetes, cancers, high blood pressure, we're always a majority, and they never have an answer?
Well, because our diets, number one, and more important than our diets to me, is our mindsets. We've been traumatized since 400 years ago, and it's still running through our blood. And that to me is the cause of some of it. But the mindset's the most important thing, because once again, you can eat bad food, but it's gonna come out your body one way or the other.
But it's what you feed your mind. That's what you're saying.
I'm saying that it's what you feed your mind is more important than what you feed your body. Because when you dirty your body, it comes out.
Right.
When you dirty your souls, is stuck there.
So the key is to get unstuck in that arena of the life.
Mentally. We're still slaves mentally. Not all of us. Some of us.
Too many of us, as far as I'm concerned. That's my opinion, Jeff.
Yeah.
It's a man's opinion. Okay, it doesn't reflect the whole world, but there are too many of us.
It's this simple, Lord. If you're not living your dreams, you're living your fears.
There's no alternative. There's no middle ground. Is that what you're saying, Jeff?
I'm saying if you're not living your dreams, you're living your fears. I mean, if you really had faith, you would just give up what you're doing and make sure you burn the bridge behind you so you can't go back.
That's exactly what I did.
That's what I did too. Twice.
Yeah. Now, I did it a couple of times. Although I said, Lloyd, are you crazy? You could have had a safe track. But I told people, one of the processes with me anyway, just as an individual, I burned my bridges behind me, which meant I only had one choice, and that was to go forward. And boy, look how it turned out. Look how it turned out with you too.
Yeah. Remember, I gave up salaries of over $200,000 to do the Noble Touch full time. And almost lost everything on the journey. You know where I live.
Yeah.
That place was up for auction. I had 2 weeks. 2 weeks left before it was up for auction. And I just knew, because of the way I think, that something was going to break for me. I was going to get the money some kind of way. And someone went into their 401k and gave me the money to pay off all my arrears. And guess what? Haven't I been late on a mortgage payment since then?
Yeah, I've had similar experiences too, and I've even questioned my own sanity at some point. Lloyd, you
do.
You had a safe job, you're well paid, you got vacations, Christmas parties, bonuses, this, that, and the other. But faith will test you too.
Yeah,
it will really test you. And I was tested to say,
well,
but
I tell people all the time that I don't think that I can question my own faith anymore, because I've never had a salary. Since 1976 was the last time I had a salary. Since 1976, it's been all commission only. That means if I don't generate money,
it don't happen.
It don't happen.
Yeah.
It don't happen. From Quavers Press, my printing company, which you remember?
Yes, that's right. Quavers Press. That's exactly right.
To the mortgage business, where I generated $54 million a year in business for them. That's not my salary. That's how much I made for the bank. That was the amount of mortgages I did. Not my salary at all.
No, I remember you was working your butt off too, boy.
Yes.
You wasn't joking. And then I remember you were close to almost losing everything you had. I was too. I had marshals put a notice on my door, and anytime a marshal put a notice on your door, that's serious in New York City.
Yeah.
Okay? And that happened twice.
It happened to me twice too.
Really? That's why we're brothers,
But do you have the guts to keep going in spite of all that? That's the question.
You better believe it. Yep.
Do you have the guts to keep going in spite of all that? Now, and everybody's not cut out to do that. Some people like to be secure and safe, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with the other way either. You have to find a way that works best for you, where you can look back at your life and be fulfilled that you've lived the life that you're proud of. Because when you start getting older, and I, being involved in the church and being an elder at the bedside of older people, I've heard so many older people say, I wish I would have. As a matter of fact, I heard my, who was it? It was my father and my grandfather. One of them said it to me, and I said, I will never be in a position where I'm going to say, I wonder what would have happened if I would have X.
Yeah.
I'm just going to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
When I leave here, I'm going to be all used to, I'm going to slide into the casket like, I'm going to slide right in. And I'm going to be all
you go, because I'm living to the fullest. No question. That's how I'm rolling. Because you listen, no one has left this planet alive, as far as I know.
That's
and
right.
We're not going to be an exception.
Every day you live, you're closer to death.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, so when they talk about, well, this is going to extend you and you take this, you live forever. No, that's not true. If something else, if that ain't gonna get you, something else gonna get you. That's the nature of the beast. That's how life has happened. And I don't think we at this late date are about to change the script, neither you nor I, or anybody else for that matter. You know what I'm saying?
The physical body will give up sooner or later. The physical body will go, but your spiritual body will still be around.
Now, well, one of the things I want to do just briefly here is...
Are there questions?
Yes. First of all, I got a question about this book you wrote. Tell us about the book.
Is church as is really enough?
Pardon
me?
What do you mean is church as is really enough? How is it now that you got a question as is really enough?
How is it right now? It has a lot of years of tradition. And some of those traditions have helped us, and some of those traditions have limited us. And has limited the people who attend church regularly. Some of the traditions, not all of them, some of them. I would like to say that I am a Christian. I'm an elder and a minister in the church. So I'm not speaking from the outside. I'm speaking from being in leadership in the church and seeing what goes on. In church as is, it's not really enough. I don't think that we're getting the personal development part of church. We're getting the religion. See, think about it. Religion separates. Spirituality, religion separates.
I got you.
Spirituality brings people together.
There is a difference.
There's a difference. And I think that we have, for some places, some churches have become theater. It's a big show being put on for the people. And then the hype man, like, the rappers, the hype man go, yeah. The hype man in the church is the worship service. The worship service get everybody all hyped up, ready to go.
Yeah.
And they come and do the preaching.
Yeah.
And then they all have these different things they do in the preached word to create emotions. See, the whole thing is to get you emotional.
What happened to those feelings that you talked about earlier?
No, these are different feelings.
Really?
Yeah, the emotional feelings that people have now is the good, feel-good feelings until they go home. Or sometimes they don't make it past the parking lot and they argue with someone.
That is true.
But they were just running up and down the aisles of the church 10 minutes ago. So when I say is church really enough, I don't think church is enough. I think that first of all, we have to realize that we are the church. If no one shows up to that building, it's not considered a church. It's not considered a church until you're in the space with people spreading the word of God.
So you're saying, Jeff, actually the church resides within ourselves too.
Yes.
Is what you're saying, buddy?
And if it does say that, then who's pastoring your church?
That's why I like you, Jeff. You're easy
if
to
the church is inside of us, which we're taught that we are the church, then who's pastoring the church?
That is true. And that means ultimately it's got to be ourselves.
Right. I mean, there's a God, this is the essence of the divine inside of us. But we're not taught to develop that in the church. We're taught to always depend on something outside of ourselves, whether it's the preacher or whether it's the God that's out there. But we don't talk about in the church the divinity in ourselves that needs to be developed, that we are the I am that the church talks about. And we step into that I am and move in that I am and thinking that I am and know that all things are possible because you are, then your life changes.
And you know what's interesting? You brought a flashback when I was a kid and we lived in Washington Heights. This couple would fight every day of the week, but on Sunday, they up in church. And then after that, it was a wrap all the rest of the week. Very
Right.
interesting, Jeff.
If you
Very,
notice
very
the subtitle,
interesting.
if you notice the subtitle of the book, it says prioritizing the healing of God's people.
Yes, yes, I saw that.
So, because me, the reason why I say it's church really enough and why I put prioritizing the healing of God's people is that healing is not a priority in most churches. Most churches, I would say probably 95% of the churches in the country don't have a real healing ministry. And what I mean by that is an intentional healing ministry that's going out to the community like Jesus did
Mm-hmm,
and doing
mm-hmm,
healing in the community. They may
mm-hmm.
have prayer warriors or someone that may go to the hospital visits, those type of things. But as far as doing community events where they're doing things for people, you don't have a lot of that. And the church has criticized me because they say what I do is not in the Bible.
Where? What did they give you a chapter and a verse?
No, they said that's not in the Bible.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And I tell them that I didn't see any scriptures in the Bible where Jesus held somebody's hand, bowed his head, and prayed for them either. I don't want to go the whole religious thing because we probably get kicked off the air. But if you're a church and you don't have a healing ministry, I don't mean just prayer. I mean a healing ministry where you're out there doing the work in the community. To me, you're not following Jesus. Most churches follow the Bible. They don't follow Jesus because they say we're supposed to have a Christ consciousness. How could you have a Christ consciousness? But how could you have that, Lloyd, if the choir is more important? You have a choir, you have a director, a minister of music. You got a minister of dance. You got a minister of drama. You got a minister of the trips to Atlantic City and the chicken dinners. So why don't you have a minister of healing in the church?
Which is the most important of all of the categories, really.
Jesus was a healer, period, point blank. If you take away from healing from Jesus, all you guys are a good teacher. So if you say you're following Jesus, like saying, I want to be like Tiger Woods. Well, not old Tiger Woods. Before the crisis, BC Tiger Woods. But you don't go play golf. I want to be like Michael Jordan, but you don't go play basketball. But you want to be like Jesus, but you don't go do no healing. Now, the argument is, well, prayer is healing. There's people saying, well, Jeff, prayer is healing. Prayer is definitely healing. But there are only a few people that really have the gift of prayer. Where they can pray for someone and remove the pain right then and there. And those people can't explain how they do it. Now, we know that everyone can learn to heal. Every single person can learn to do healing. And I've proven it.
Jeff, I bear witness. That's what I'm saying. You ain't got to prove it to me. That's exactly why you're on here, to give those people that are on the edge, that feel they have no way out or anything, that Jeff, you are a remarkable human being. I'm going to tell you right to your face. We've been doing this, about 30, 40 years probably?
Yeah, so people probably think you're saying that because you know me so long. Yeah, well, Lloyd knew him a long time. That's why he's saying that's Lloyd's buddy. He's gonna say that stuff. You don't have to believe Lloyd. Just give a Noble Touch a call.
Yes. Oh, in fact, excuse me. We're gonna put the information of how people can get a hold of you too. Okay. Here we go. Jeff, can you explain everything, please? That's on the bottom of the screen. Thank you.
Well, I've been called many names. I've been called.
Yes, you have. Yeah, I couldn't resist. You know how we do.
Some good, some bad, some indifferent. But I've been called a human potential engineer because I can see the potential people have and engineer it so they begin to manifest that potential they have by removing the blocks and the beliefs that stop them from being all that they were meant to be and to be their best self. I've been called the healing alchemist because I combine a number of different technologies, spiritual technologies. And when I say spiritual technology, I just mean things that are going to change the mind, body, and spirit when I say spiritual technologies. I've combined a number of them because there's no one person who's going to respond to the same thing the same way all the time. So what I do is I combine whatever the person needs. So each healing experience with me or with anyone from the Noble Touch is custom designed for you. Of course, I've lectured about all types of things and do workshops on all kinds of things. You saw the book, founder and CEO of the Noble Touch. That happened when I went to India. I went to India on a spiritual journey. And while I was there, to make a long story short, Spirit came to me and told me I had to quit my job. At that time, I was earning about $200,000 a year. And I fought tooth and nail not to leave. I would say, no, God, you know how much money I'm making right now?
Right.
Wait a minute, God, I don't think you understand. I'm making 6 figures.
Yeah.
I'm a kid from
Yeah.
Harlem,
Yeah.
from the projects in Harlem, who's supposed to be dead by now,
Yep.
raised by a mother with 4 boys, and
And
I'm
we
making over
defied all
$20,000
the
a year.
odds, buddy. We defied
You
all
know what
the
I mean?
I said we defied all the odds that were
Right.
considered growing up in our day.
So
Definitely.
God, you must have forgot that. You tell me to leave this $20,000 job with all these benefits in the car and the bank accounts and everything else to go and do some healing work? And God said, yep. So I
Yep.
shaved off when I came back. When I came back to New York from India, I had no hair anywhere on my body, Lloyd.
Really? I know you brought me
Every
back a couple of books from India.
right. I remember I was doing some books. My
Yeah. Yeah.
eyebrows were shaved. Everything was shaved. You can imagine. Everything was shaved because that was part of my initiation to do this full time. So I came back and started doing it full time, and then we just grew from there. I guess my IG is Jeffrey V Noble. If you want to catch me on Instagram, we have Facebook at the Noble Touch. It's the Facebook, and Jeffrey V Noble on Jeffrey Vincent Noble on Facebook also. Cash App is $thenobletouch.com. I mean the Noble Touch. Just in case you want to give brother a little something.
Yeah, that's right. Give a donation. Listen, Jeff, when I have guests on with the Cash App, like you said, you burn your bridges, and almost every guest I've had on this show has burned their bridges to move forward, which is how they got on this show. So my whole thing is, at least since you're gonna make a donation, as they say, make a donation to the Noble Touch, $ the Noble Touch.
Also, I think we have I don't think it's on here, but it's Venmo, I think also. It's Venmo, Noble Touch, and Cash. Oh, she got Cash App, Venmo, and Zelle. I think Zelle is the nobletouch.com. I think Venmo is the same thing.
Now, what about your contact for those that want to reach you in terms of either counseling to talk about, what may be on their mind to see if they, based upon whether you can help them or whatever, is that the right number? What's the best one to call the number? Go to the website. What's up, Jeff? Talk to me.
The number right there, extension 700. That phone number is good. And Noble Healing Alchemist, which is not up there, but that's another one. Just Noble Healing Alchemist at gmail.com. That's probably the best one to get me the fastest, or the phone number.
Noble Repeat that then, since I didn't put it on there. What is it again, buddy?
Noble, it's the same. You see, it says guest Jeffrey Noble.
Yes.
Remove the comma and put Noble Healing Alchemist at gmail.com.
Okay, Jeffrey Noble Healing Alchemist.
No, Noble Healing Alchemist.
Oh, Noble. Just leave the Jeffrey off.
Right.
Noble Healing Alchemist at gmail.com.
Right.
Okay. When is members of your group? Because I know every now and then you have me talk to them over the phone, and I mean there's a slew of people we be talking to. Are there any a place where the Noble Touch organization is going to be, where people can maybe come and get a taste of the demonstration of exactly what the members do? Because they're awesome, every single one of them.
Well, I think that on Mondays, the first 3 Mondays of every month, like right now, there's a healing workshop going on. There's a community night of healing going on right now with the rest of my teammates that's doing the healing for people that want to come on. So the first 3 Mondays of every month, we have healing.
And where do they go to? Where do they go to join the healing session?
I think they should probably go to my website and sign up. Which is the website's not up there? Yeah, the nobletouch.org, and sign up there. That way you get the emails. They want to get on our email list. That's what they want to do. Otherwise, they're not going to get the information if they're not on the email list, or someone doesn't send it to them if they know. So they go to the nobletouch.org and just sign up, put their name in there. They'll be put on the mailing list automatically, and that way they'll know everything that's going on. We do Wednesday afternoons from 1 to 2 o'clock for seniors, although people who are not seniors come on. And that one has gospel music at the end, so it's like a big party for the seniors. Like I said, Mondays, every Monday from 7 to 8. It's from 8 to 9, 1 to 2. So we have Mondays, the first 3 Mondays of every month, every Wednesday period. I think it's something else I missed. Oh, I Am Fellowship. The I Am Fellowship is our version. It's a spiritual practice. You know how people go to church and you go to church, and you hear the music, and then you hear the preached word, and then you go home. Basically, you would read the announcements, all that stuff. Well, we started the I Am Fellowship, which came to me while I was doing the El Camino pilgrimage, where I walked from Portugal to Spain, 100 miles in silence.
Really?
Yes, 2019. It's called the El Camino pilgrimage. You can look it up on YouTube. People from all over the world come. Hundreds of thousands of people walk every year. It's the way of St. James, one of Jesus' disciples. So once again, I did that. And when I did that, the I Am Fellowship came to me. That the church needs to do something different. That we got something different than what the church is doing, what I should say. So the way we do it is you come in, we have gospel music playing. We don't have no band, no music ministry. We're not a church. But we have gospel music playing. You come in. Then you exercise. Then we do an I Am the Soul meditation to connect you to your higher soul. Then we have some type of preacher, or we have some type of esoteric person come in and talk about different aspects. See, the church tells you what to do, but it doesn't show you how to do it. The Bible is not an application book. It doesn't show you how to do anything. Everything is pray, 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 pray. And if that worked for everybody, Black folks would not be in the state that we're in right now.
Amen.
As much as we are in church, all the time we spend in church, and we're praying all the time, if that works for everybody, we would not be in the situation we're in right now.
I'd have to agree with you on that one. No question.
So after the person preaches, if it's a preacher, that a traditional preacher comes and preaches, what I do afterwards, I come on and say, okay, this is what Lloyd said. He preached a great word. This is how you do what he said. He talked about
in other words, just you go beyond just what is said, but how to go about doing what is said.
So let's say you preached about fear. You shouldn't have a spirit of fear because you should only fear God. You shouldn't fear anything else but God because God has not given you a spirit of fear but a sound mind, blah, blah, blah. Right? So then that's cool. The person's excited about it, but now let's see whether you can go and stand on the top of the Empire State Building. You got a fear of heights. You still have that fear. So what I do is I come behind that preaching and I teach you the application, give you a technique to help you overcome fear, anxiety, stress, depression, anger, resentment, whatever it is. I come behind them and give you a tool of how to release it. And then after that, we do a group healing. Oh, after that, the most important part, the most exciting part is the question and answer, where you get to ask the preacher that just preached questions about what he talked about. And that's the part
how he respond with his answers.
Right. And that's the part that's most intimidating for most of them. Because if you don't know your stuff, if you're not prepared and you just put together something to sound pretty, and my audience asks some deep questions.
I've been in your audience, so I know.
They ask deep questions.
I know.
I heard a pastor tell me how intimidating it is to come in front of my audience.
Really?
They know a lot because my audience is
and you're not trying to intimidate them, right?
No. Just that my audience has been exposed to spiritual stuff. And I think it's amazing, Lloyd, that if you go to a doctor, you expect the doctor to know the physical anatomy, right? But the people who are saving our souls, help us grow spiritually, they have no clue on what the spiritual anatomy is. There is a spiritual anatomy.
It makes sense to me.
And they have no idea what it is. But they're supposed to be saving our souls. So I don't know. I'm not saying whether they all aren't. I'm just saying I find it kind of interesting that you expect the human doctor to know his physical anatomy, but you don't expect the spiritual doctor per se, or the preacher or the pastor, whoever is in leadership, the minister, to know the spiritual anatomy. So they could be anointing your knee, thinking that your knee is hurting, but the pain could really come from the hip. They could be praying for your knee to heal, but the cause may be the hip. Or if somebody have a migraine headache, they may be anointing the head, but it's the solar plexus area. If they clean that out, the migraine headache will start to decrease. But if you don't know the spiritual anatomy and how it all connects to the physical body, you can't do that.
Jeff, I done kept you over an hour. I thought I'd only keep you about 10 minutes. I lied, but you know what I'm saying. So
yeah, you've been on the Noble Touch show for more than that, so
I know. But Jeff, I wanna thank you. But
one more thing, no one had questions.
Go right ahead.
I'm surprised no one had questions.
No, there are probably a lot of questions I didn't answer. Listen, The fact that I see so many responses, it could have been, but I wanted people because I'm going to have you back. And then this way, now that people have seen you, because a lot of times on this show, people give their birthdays and things of that nature. But I also want to bring another dimension into this where sometimes it's good to listen and absorb because all of us are under pressure. I don't care what sign we're under, what birthday we're under. We're all under respective pressure of some kind or another. So goes across the board. This is actually across the board reading, as far as I'm concerned, for anybody in here. But I'm sure that when I have you back later over the summer, because I know your next one of your next best months too, I'll make sure that we open it up so people can ask questions. As for Wednesday though, and hold on one second, Jeff. I will be back in a moment. Let me do this a second, right quick. Okay, how do we do this? Okay, there, and then I'm gonna go here, and then I'm gonna let you know that on there's a couple of things I want you to know. This Wednesday, on the 2nd, I'm having Antoine Gordon. That's this gentleman right here. Um, he is a life coach and a spiritual counselor. He is excellent. He is excellent. All the guests I feel I have on are excellent because they do. Now he will read you. I will read you too. All right. Jeff will answer all of your questions later. But I do want to let you know that today and tomorrow is the last day of my online course on sale for this February. And if you notice, the last time I was on the 21st, they had it on sale. The prices was lower. And as you see, they inched it up. So what I'm saying is every time you delay getting the course and go to Lloyd-Strayhorn.com, that's LLOYD-Strayhorn, STRAYHORN. Sign on. And by the way, sign on for the free monthly newsletter that my partner Kyan French and I do. And that's coming out soon for the month of March. So make sure that you sign up for the free monthly newsletter. And no, we do not sell your name. No, we don't play that. No, no. Now, if we got something going on, we'll let you know. But over and above that, no, we don't do that. So anyway, don't forget my special guest this coming Wednesday is Brother Antoine. This brother's deep to a Libra, real deep brother. So he's going to have a lot. And so then we'll take phone calls. And I think what I'll do is I'll let people know that in this case, we're not taking readings. But you're right, Jeff. I really probably should have, let me get this straight. I really probably should have seen who was in the chat or asking questions. I'm sure they do. Once this is over, to be played on YouTube, and you can see some of the comments that are coming in, and you'll see some give their birthdays. But I want them to really make sure that their mental health, their spiritual health, and emotional health is in order. That's my goal. Yes, Jeff.
People come on for their birthdays a lot of times, but then they do nothing with it. So now you know the reading you got from Lloyd. You know your birthdays. You know your best months. You know your best days. So what now? What? You actually sit down after you get that information. That valuable information can make your life easier and make you flow through life with less resistance. You take that information and think about the goals you want to achieve, the things you have to do, the important decisions you have to make. And do you plug it into those dates, or do you just take the dates because you want to have like a reading? When you get the kind of information that Lloyd shares with you, you have to learn to use it to your advantage so you run into less obstacles as you move forward through life.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can have more energy on your three-star days than you can have on a one-star day or no-star day. So what do you need to plan for that day? What do you have to plan for that? Do you have an important meeting? Well, that's what you should plan for that day. You have to look at these things. Lloyd and I used to go around the country, like he said at the beginning, and do a workshop together called Number of Success in You.
Yep, we did.
That's what we used to do, is teach people not just to get this information for entertainment purposes, but to take the information to make your life better, to find a better mate, to buy a home in an area you should be living in. Use this information to better yourself, not just because you want to know what Lloyd says the numbers are going to do. What are you going to do with the numbers he tells you? That's the question.
Thank you, Jeff. That's why you my man. Okay. Thank you, buddy. Jeff and I have been knowing each other, and we've gone through a lot together. We've done quite a bit together, and I can't thank this brother enough. Everybody, I want to thank you. Jeff, hold on a second. Everybody, thank you so much for spending your valuable time with us. And you have a nice day until then. Okay.